Over this past weekend, had a chance to join a chat. It was a podcast from Trucking City Media, the BOSSMAN. And he had a panel, and it was basically about standards are crumbling, fraud is tearing it down. He's basically seeing what's been going on with accidents and CDL schools and fraud that has been taking place in Louisiana, Texas, etc. So it's been the biggest story for the last couple weeks. Accidents and what's been going on in the trucking system. And that's why I started the broken CDL trucking system and broken CDL school system to go along with the rest of my YouTube channel and Facebook sites. So the topic was kind of interesting because it's back in where I'm probably feel strongest. I have probably more knowledge in this area than in maybe something like over-the-road trucking, etc. So I thought it was enjoyable. It was good learning, and the boss man put some of his opinions out. It's a long video, but it's on my playlist. So if you go to Broken CDL Trucking System, and you go down and look for that title, and then you'll find that podcast, and you'll see part of my chit-chat online. I wasn't talking, but I was just typing it in and was having a back and forth. So during his podcast, the boss man came up with 4 suggestions for fixing the broken CDL system at CDL schools. It's not that I have to agree with what he's saying. I just appreciate the boss man putting it out. I appreciate him taking the time and doing a podcast. I appreciate the boss man talking about trucking and helping. He sincerely is helping truckers, and he wants to make the system better for the next generation of truckers. So I'm going to go over quickly because he had a couple questions for me, and I'm going to try to answer them. I can't do it completely because I'm not going to have a forever long video. Okay, gets in there. Number 1, he wants to increase CDL school training hours. Okay. Because as you've looked on my videos, you saw that there's CDL schools 4 days. On the 5th day, you test and you're out. Some are 8 days, whatever. And they cash in, and they're hurting the good CDL schools. And boss man said he wants real hours, log it. So I used to have my students log it, practice log in case their computer went down, so you know how to make a log. And it's really official. Log the hours. How many, if you was on the road, you logged it. If you was doing nothing, you put off duty, whatever, So and you kept it, and we kept a copy, and the student had a copy. And they always signed at the end of the day. If we only did 45 minutes, the student, I was put it down for 45 minutes, and the student would initial that it was 45 minutes. And he talked about real hours, log it, and have it audited and verified. So they need to keep these records. But this is supposed to be done at all CDL schools anyway. When you go out, you're supposed to keep accurate records and hold them for like 2 or 3 years. So when you have students, you should know how many hours they had on the road, how many hours they had on the range, in classroom, etc. So it is supposed to be logged, and it's supposed to be, they don't verify it, but it's supposed to be kept. Make CDL schools independent. No more carrier-owned CDL school mills pumping out unprepared drivers. Okay, I don't know if I exactly agree with that because some of the carriers have better CDL schools than the private ones. I usually prefer a CDL community college state-run agency, because they are not in it for the money. A private one, it's got to make money. So they pile the students in and becomes the CDL school mill. And half the time, the students say, when am I ever going to get in that tractor to practice? Because you got to compete with 5 or 6 other students, and you only have so much time to do it. Sometimes it just doesn't work. But usually in a college, they'll cut and keep the class size small. And most of the times at colleges, students usually don't pay a dime, because the government will give them grants, give the college grants. The students can get grants from the college or whatever, and it's free. I don't prefer students going to a mega carrier, because you're trapped into the system. The government gives money to the mega carriers, and after your training and you start working for, let's say, a company, and you quit, you owe that mega carrier the money back for the training. So unless you really want to go on the road, you stay away from the mega carriers. Don't do it. Find a school. If you don't have the money, find a community college. Find someone some training school that gives grant money. So if you look, you would not pay a dime for your CDL training. And make sure you find a good school. Too many CDL school mills, because there's no one enforcing the rules. Mandatory audits by a dedicated watchdog group. Regular unannounced checks to see if the school is doing what they're supposed to. I like that. That I like. Yeah, watchdogs. I'll be a watchdog. Hey, sign me up. Just drop in and with my little camera, say this is, I'm working for FMCSA. I'm a member of this watchdog group. I'll have myself, maybe someone else. And we've been watching your training for the last 2 weeks, or maybe for the last 4 or 5 hours. And this is the promise that we came across. Maybe we have to shut that school down for a little while. I don't know, but we're going to put fear into them. Okay, number 4, and the last one, mentorships for every new inexperienced CDL driver for a full year with a veteran mentor who will be compensated fairly if needed extended training at the driver's expense. Well, most new CDL drivers who come out of school don't have any money, and they can't afford it. And plus, when they get a job at some of these companies, they're paying them nothing. They're not getting any money. And that's why most of them quit. 98, they say, so I'll just say 90% of the students who go out to the mega carriers, they quit within a year. After 1 year, they are out, and a new group comes in and takes their place. So in a 1 year span, it's a revolving door, because as a new group comes in, a whole new group is quitting. One's quitting, new group comes in. It just goes on and on. So BOSSMAN had a couple questions for me. Who would be the better watchdog, DOT or FMCSA? None of them. They're not watchdogs. They don't enforce the rules. They put rules out, but everything is self-certified. I self-certified this student's ready to be tested. I self-certified, I'm going to start a CDL school, and I'm following all the rules, and I'm ready to go. Okay, you in. Self-certification. It's so large in the FMCSA can't do it. Or they look the other way. They have more bigger things to do. There's more important things to do. If you look at the FMCSA, what they're talking about, very little of it has to do with CDL schools. There's other areas that are more important. And yet, most of the accidents are happening because of new inexperienced drivers coming out of the schools, going to these companies, and they not prepared to be truckers. They poorly trained. Hopefully, you go to a school like Rosedale and you get Sean, who's a driver trainer. If you have Sean, you're in good shape. If you have Twisted Trucker, he's also a trainer. Those students are in good shape because they have a driver trainer who's passionate about doing what needs to be done. And then you go to some of these other places and you have a trainer who's new himself. He's inexperienced himself out there training. They come to a place where I work and the driver, the student can't get it in, then the trainer gets in, he can't back it in. It's terrible. So the baseline to prepare drivers is building a good foundation at the CDL school, and then they get trained how to drive at a trucking company. And everything has to be improved. The trucking companies must train these drivers. And a mentorship, yeah. So if driver A goes out for a year, he's driving, he should have one mentor assigned to him, and after his training, that mentor will follow him around and maybe have a mailbox, or now we have YouTube, we have phones, and we can keep track and talk to each other and keep records. Someone that driver can talk to and get a clear answer. Mentorship is really, really important for new, inexperienced drivers. But as a watchdog, none of them, they're not no watchdog. They're not a watchdog when it comes to CDL schools. They are, FMCSA, DOT is a good watchdog in other areas. But when it comes to CDL schools and the new inexperienced drivers going to trucking companies, none of them, both of them are bad. Would you have a problem answering to the FMCSA or the DOT by the virtue of one report? How many students have you passed? Have I passed? This is what I made them do, backed up by an audit. That is already happening. I'll try to attach a short video at the end of this if I can. If not, on my playlist, you'll see the form. So a CDL school, just what I just read, that is what they have to do. So I'm running a CDL school. Before the student can be tested now, it has to go to the FMCSA, not the state. It goes to the FMCSA. On that report, I'm filling out that the classroom that the student had above 80, 90% pass scoring. Did good. He's fine. And that was done probably previously. After it finished the classroom, all that sent in. Every student has a record with the FMCSA. Road time, where did they go? How long was they driving? All this. A lot of these records are falsified because no one can back it up. The records are kept, but they're falsified. How much time they spent on the range practicing skills. All this is done. It's already done. And it all goes to FMCSA. FMCSA sees it. And then they say, okay, good. They send a text or an email or whatever back to the state where the student is going to be testing on the third-party tester or at the state local testing site and say, the student's ready to be tested. The only catch is, if you look at the form, so if you can see the form that's on my playlist, find the word, is this student proficient? Or maybe the statement saying, XYZ Trucking Company or CDL school states that this student is proficient in all skills. This student can do all skills and is ready to be tested. That word's not on there. FMCSA left that word off. And you wonder why. Students can be tested and can't hardly back up. Barely can back up a tractor trailer. Some of them fail 3 or 4 times. They say, wait a minute, on your FMCSA website, you cannot put any student up for testing unless that student is proficient. Doesn't mean they're going to pass the first time, but you cannot put a student up for testing that if they're not proficient. And all the schools just looked the other way. Well, I didn't know that. They know it. But yet they put these students up for testing because the FMCSA does not enforce any rules. It's all self-certification that the student is ready to be tested. And they know the student's failing. If a student fails 4 or 5 times, the DMV, MVA, and the local states, they know every time a student is supposed to be tested on a particular day, and they know every time that student failed 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Where's the audit? That should be a red flag. So I try to answer the question as best I can. I'm already in about 16 minutes, too long, 14 minutes, way too long on this video, but I wanted to try to answer the questions the best I can. So, BOSSMAN, hope you see the video, and hopefully we'll get in touch in time. See you in the next run. Be safe out there.